Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Holy Conversations. I'm Dwayne Scoggins at Johnston Chapel United Methodist Church.
Woo!
Um, Methodist Methodist preacher. Um, been doing this now for a little over 8 years. Um, this is a if you're watching this, this is just two Methodist preachers that come up with something and go, "Hey, let's talk about this," and it goes from there. Uh, Sometimes the conversations are kind of lighthearted, and sometimes they can get pretty deep. Um, and so you never know, but you never know how the conversation is really going to go.
Amen.
But
Amen.
not well, about 3 hours away from me now is the other Methodist pastor that is part of this conversation, and that would be Mr. Morgan Spencer.
Thank you, Dwayne. Always good to get to hang out and talk. We were saying before we started recording that even when everybody gets the vaccine and things go relatively back to normal, that we're going to keep doing this. I think we're stuck doing it till the end of time. And so we're going to keep on
Oh, yeah.
gathering in this way. I got my church statistics done Monday. Yes. So,
Whoa!
yes, always very
I got
excited.
to check on mine. My treasurer is supposed to be doing.
Good.
Yes.
One of the exciting
Um,
things was Shiloh. We had 3 new members added last year. Three new members by transfer and 1 baptism. Always wonderful to have a baptism.
wow. Always, always. We had one last year too.
Yeah.
We had four to place membership, and then we had one baptism.
Yeah.
Um, I was very pleased with that.
Always
So this
wonderful
year we're
to see the
shooting for
kingdom of
60.
God grow.
Oh yeah, yes, most definitely. But anyway, church this week was your typical Sunday morning. We had a few people that were there in the congregation. Um, we've started having our choir back since we've hired our new choir director, um, and I'm very pleased with her. I think she's doing a great job,
Wonderful.
and but we're looking at going back to full service um, in the first Sunday in February. Is
Awesome.
what we're looking at right now.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
we'll be back to full swing church and on the 7th of February.
Wonderful. Yeah, we've
Hopefully,
been back. In fact,
prayerful.
yeah, I had a lady ask me Sunday what we're gonna do about communion. And I think although they
Mhm.
prefer to do intinction, I think we're gonna do the cups for a little while longer until
Yep.
it's safe to do
Yep.
intinction again. And so I know it's not our favoriteest way to
Yep.
take communion, but it's the safest way right now to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and so
Yeah. And I've been seeing some pastors discussing how we're going to do Ash Wednesday services.
I have no
Um,
I
I don't know.
I I
Um,
yep. I have an idea of something that I'm going to do, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. But I have an idea
right.
that I'm working on. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Sorry, I'm hitting a dog.
Well, you see, I don't have my kids. My kids are at school today, but we still have your kids who are present.
Oh yeah, my kids are still running all over the place. But
Church was good for me as well.
but you
Always enjoy getting to be with people and worship and pray. There's been a lot of things to pray about in our community. A lot of
Yeah.
lot of what we're going to talk about today, to be honest, and I'll transition us this way, since this was my something that I thought about this morning, is because we have experienced in the last several years, especially for you in your church there in that community, and for me when I came to here in this community, we have experienced a lot of funerals. So
Yes.
how the question is really, how do we understand death in the Wesleyan tradition as a Methodist?
and that's a very good question, because I've never really thought about it in that way. Um, I mean, but it's interesting though. A lot of times though, when we talk about somebody passing away, most of the time we will say that brother so and so or sister so and so has entered the church triumphant.
Yes. Yes.
So, I guess I would say, if you were going to look at this from a Wesleyan tradition, we would say that the victory's been won.
Yeah. And one thing, one thing you could also say, which we'll talk about, is that for the Christian, for a follower in Jesus Christ, this is the last act of sanctification.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That would be correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff out there to read about, some different things from Wesley and stuff. But one of the things that he emphasized was, if you live a good life, you have a good death.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, and because death is a natural part of life, since we are, there is appointed a time to be born and a time to die, we are going to pass from this world to the next one day. So this is as natural as anything else.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt about that. Unless Jesus comes back, that's what I always say. Unless
Amen.
Jesus comes back, there's only one way out of this world.
Amen. And we spend a lot of time.
But
we spend a lot of time dealing with this, because as pastors, one of the things we do most often is to officiate funerals to help people through this process.
And something that I don't think a lot of people realize, we as preachers, we have to go through a process as well. A lot of people don't realize that just how hard it is for us.
Yeah.
To lose a church member. And there are times where we don't even get to grieve.
Yeah.
Because we have to go into that mode.
And for those who are watching us talk about this is a hard thing. This is a hard thing. Grief
Yeah.
is like losing a bit of your way. It's like losing part of your world, and then you have to go on every single day with that part of your world that you've been accustomed to not being present anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
Um,
there's a
and
lot
the
of.
thing about it is,
Go ahead. You go.
I was going to say, and another part about it is a lot of people don't understand is, um, when you think that you're starting to make progress in coming out of your grief situations and stuff, it'll come right back on you. Um, it'll just come out of the blue and knock you down, you know. Um,
Amen.
and that's why I tell churches um, to keep people that are that have lost someone, keep in touch with them,
Amen.
but
Yeah.
after the first 30 days have gone, then really start connecting with them and everything, because the the first 30 days you're in such a fog that um you're still kind of numb.
Amen.
It's after that when you start coming out of that the numbness starts wearing off, and people start needing to be um take looked after, I guess you would say, more.
Absolutely. Checked on
um
in relationship.
yeah, checked on. And yeah, and understand this too is when you ask someone, especially someone who's lost a loved one, when you ask them how they're doing, they're going to say okay, because that's just
Human.
common nice way of saying things. Um, but to be perfectly honest, they're not really okay,
Yeah.
because they're still having to deal with this. Um, and I mean, so it it's common to say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Um, but it's probably best not to even ask that question. Don't put them into that place to have to try and answer that question. Um, just check on them. You know,
I
say just
amen.
call and see.
Amen to so many of the things that you're saying right now. It's so incredibly important to keep strong those ties that bind in these moments, when we've lost someone that we really cared about, because you can really feel lost, and there's a lot of mental health issues that come out of it. And we so need the community to look after each other in the midst of the seasons, because sometimes, if we're honest, sometimes we say some things that are really bad when somebody dies,
Yeah,
things I wish we would
yeah,
stop saying. And
yeah, yeah.
you and I, when we did the podcast, which I never put out for anybody, I still have it on my computer. Each time we recorded, and I think we only recorded 4 or 5, we would include things that we wish
Yeah.
would stop saying. And that's something we can
Stop saying that.
for a long time. And so, um, we need to
Oh
think
yeah,
we need to
yeah,
think more about what we say and how we say it, when in those moments. Because the other thing, like, I love what you said, that grief is not linear. It comes in waves.
mm,
And so, and
yes,
some days are going to hit you harder than other, and sometimes you may not even be able to see it coming. It may be just totally random.
Nope.
You pass something, or you look at something, or you hear something, and then you're right back in grief mode and in mourning. And but Jesus told the disciples, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted."
Right. Right. And that's where the church comes in, is to provide that comfort, in those places and in those times.
Amen.
Um, because they are um, that's what we're supposed to do,
Yeah.
is take care of the you know those that grieve.
Amen. Because we're not gonna live here forever. This is not our eternal home.
No, it's not. It's not. And and now, since 2020, um, I think it's become harder on people who have lost loved ones, because you really haven't been able to get that full closure that you need. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had several people that have not been able to. I mean, they had a burial, but they really didn't have a full funeral,
Yep.
or they've delayed the funeral, for a later time. And I mean, that just becomes a mess, uh, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Amen.
Because if you got to have that closure.
You
You
do.
got to have that closure.
It's
And
it's
right now it's very hard to get it.
it's so critical for the process of not moving on. I don't like how people say that. You're not trying to move on, but you
No.
are trying to move forward in your life, to keep living each day, keep loving the people that you have with you, and carrying the memory of those who've passed on. Like, I can remember, you're like this, I'm sure. I can remember where some of the church members sat who have passed away.
Well, yeah, yeah. I
Yep.
mean, I've told church members, that's the way I call a road. When I look out across the pews and stuff, if there's an empty spot, my question is, okay, where are they at? I mean, that's um, mm,
Amen. Amen.
but I mean, it is that emptiness that is left. Um, the best way I can describe it is, it's like a scar. I mean, you heal, but the wound is still will always be there. Will
Always.
always be there.
Amen. That
Um,
is a good analogy or metaphor, either way. Um, that's a perfect one, because
yeah.
there will come a time where that scar won't be fresh, and you can run your hand over it, and it
No.
will bring up the memory, not as much the
Yep.
pain, but the happiness that they brought into your life.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's exactly the way it is.
it is. That's the way it is. That's the way we're
But
designed as people.
hmm it is. It is.
And
Um,
also,
I
too,
mean,
if you made it this far in, for one of the things that can help is to have a church. Going through all this without a church, I can't
maybe
even imagine it. I can't even imagine.
me either. Me either. Um, I mean, that I can't imagine trying to go through something like that without a church to stand behind and support you.
Amen.
Because um, that you need support in those times. You need support in those times.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and there's also, because of the church being able to support it, not everybody understands the grief you're going through, because everybody grieves differently. That's an old cliche. Everybody grieves differently, and that's true. But although we may not understand your particular pain or your particular grief, we understand that there is pain, and we understand that there is ways to help each other through it, to walk each other through it.
Amen. Amen. And I hope that anyone sticking around with us watching this, I know I told Dwayne, before we sat down to record, I was just on the phone with a friend of mine who just lost his dad. I mean, this is happening to people every day, every day. And so this is something that we have to learn to how to walk in the midst of, and how to walk with others when they're going through it too.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
And and to understand, sometimes you don't have to say anything. I mean, you don't have to. Just being there a lot of times is just as much comfort as trying to, thinking that you got to say the right words and everything. Sit there and
Absolutely.
be quiet.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just
100%. Just we called it often, and I've called it often, and I'm not the first one to say this, is a ministry of presence. Just being present,
yeah,
being there, listening to other people's stories is so incredibly important to help people, and just being there and being sympathetic and being just listening matters a lot.
yeah. And don't be afraid in that time. Don't be afraid to mention the person's name. I mean, a lot of people think, well, I shouldn't talk about them. I shouldn't mention their name because it may bring up, bad memories and stuff. No, no, because those that are left want to know that their loved one is still remembered.
Amen.
You know,
Yeah, they want.
and we do that by the name. So.
Yep. And so I hope that anybody out there who is struggling, find somebody to talk to, find a church, find a group, find a community that will grieve with you and will walk with you through this process. And we have been through a lot of death in the last several years, and
Oh, yeah.
especially with this
Oh, yeah.
virus. And so,
And look, I'm on Facebook. Find me.
yep.
I mean that. I got no problem with that either. Find me.
Yeah, we love talking to
If you got
people
nowhere else.
and ministering to people in this moment.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Amen. Well, Dwayne, it's always good to see you, my friend.
You too. You too. Always.
Yep. And so you have a good
Always good. Even you too. Have a good week. Thanks everybody for watching. Go to church on Sunday.
There you go. Amen. Amen. Talk at you later.